Hi, my name's Phil, and I teach grade 12 physics. And a few years ago, I turned my class into an online game. So students can choose to play the game either as an agent or as a villain. So agents obviously trying to stop the villain from completing his evil plans, and the villain trying to complete his evil scheme. He's trying to gain entry into the League of Evil. I'm going to show you what the agents would see if they were logging in. So an agent logs in and they can play as an agent. The first thing they see is information console. So there's a game overview, which is basically just a video of me explaining the structure of how things work. There's a scoring guide to explain how scoring, and a scoreboard. So the scoreboard basically, what I had done was averaged the score of all the students playing as agents and average the score of all the students playing as villains, and then just put up the which side was basically winning. So it doesn't really matter at that point whether more people choose to play as agents or villains. We're just averaging scores. I only had one block of Physics 12, so if you had multiple blocks, you could compete different classes against each other. And I know some teachers like to have, when they gamify their class, they like to have the students' individual scores. I chose not to do that, but you could. The other nice thing about the scoreboard is the top menu here. When people log in, look at upcoming events. I've also embedded it here as well, so it shows up kind of at the top. So that's the scoreboard. There's a collection of resources, links to certain videos on how to use Excel to make a graph. We made use of the Tracker video analysis software. There's a formula sheet, lab manuals, stuff like that. But the main structure of the class are, for the agents at least, a bunch of missions that they have to complete. So these are structured the same way my unit, Physics 12 unit structure would be. So the first mission is based on kinematics. It's about relative motion, so adding and subtracting vectors. And in this case, the mission, when they click on mission description, so the military has reported a cargo plane that containing an electromagnetic pulse bomb has been hijacked. The agents have to retrieve the plane and apprehend the villain, who is known as Vector. So here's Vector, our villain. Here's our agents. So in order to intercept the plane, they need to add and subtract vectors to take into account the direction of the wind to find out what direction they need to head. So obviously, first day of Physics 12, they won't really know how to add or subtract vectors, so they've got to work their way through a bunch of activities in order to complete that mission. So right now the mission is grayed out. They can't do it until they've done all of these things, so they can start working through. In the mission documents, I've actually just got some answer keys for practice problems from the textbook. We were using the Giancoli textbook, so those are just my handwritten solutions to those practice problems. There's a lab in this case, so again, I would have students come into class and doing activities. So here's a lab that they might do. There's also a scoring rubric that I put in place on how I would score or grade their lab reports that they submit, and I'll go through how this is used in Moodle from the instructor side in a little bit. Some investigations. Usually investigations are some sort of other online activity. It might be a video that they watch. In this case, it's a Mythbusters video, and then some basic questions that they have to answer. And as well then actual video instructions. So again, I made videos of me doing lectures. So again, students would, rather than watching or coming to class and listening to me teach, they could watch the videos at their own pace, and instead come to class and actually do physics, do labs, talk to me about questions that they have, work on practice problems, do these investigations. So that's the first mission. After that, they move from that into projectile motion, dynamics, equilibrium, work, energy, power, circular motion, conservation of momentum, electrostatics and circuits, and finally electromagnetism. So each of these missions basically follows through a storyline of this supervillain and them trying to track him down and thwart his evil plans. So it's a lot of fun for the students to work through that. All of their grades are done on Moodle as well, so I have a grade book. Here's the students' view of it, so they can see all the different labs that they're required to do in the year, and all the other different activities, all the different missions. And these are all part of categories that I set up for basically standards-based grading. So, you know, one standard that I have is write a formal lab report based on experimental data. Another standard, add and subtract 2 or more vectors, apply vector analysis to solve navigation problems or relative motion, projectile motion, etc., etc. So basically, using standards-based grading, I allow students multiple attempts at all of these things, just like you would in any kind of game where you can hit reload when you die and start over. So that's the student's view into things. I'll show you the teacher's view into things. I'll take a look maybe this time at the villain's side, and you can see how it's basically the same game, just worded slightly differently. So the villains have different stages of their evil plan, but when you take a look at the stage summary, it's basically the same thing. So this time they're trying to gain entry into this evil league. They need to submit an application which demonstrates, you know, what kind of evil plots that they've hatched and completed. And so this time they're scheming to steal this weapon and escape. In order to escape in their hijacked plane, they need to, you know, basically take into account the direction of the wind in order to get back to their evil lair. So it's the same questions, just worded slightly differently for the villain's point of view. At this point, I guess I'll show you what the actual stage looks like. So because I'm logged in as the instructor, I can complete the stage. So there's the wording, and what it is basically just a Moodle quiz. All of them have 1 or 2 or 3 questions on their quiz, and each time the student logs in, the quiz will choose a random question from a quiz bank, and I'll show you the quiz bank in a bit, the question bank, sorry. And there's different, so each time the student logs in, they'll get a different question. So it'll be worded the same, but we'll have different values. That way one student can't complete the question and, you know, figure out the one answer and spread that answer around the whole class. So they can make multiple attempts at it, but they'll get a different question each time. So I'll take you back to the question bank. So I'll show you how that's set up. So in my question bank, what you'll see is there's questions for each mission or stage. So if I take a look at mission 1, for example, the questions we were just looking at. So there's a bunch of different questions, and some of them are multiple choice questions. Some of them are calculated questions, which in the Moodle world is great because it doesn't look like there's a big question bank here for me to choose from, but in fact there is, because each question is putting in random numbers. So you can see the variables here. There's a wind from the northeast at some set number of kilometers per hour and another set of numbers. So it's taking those numbers and generating a random question each time. So those numbers change every time a student does the quiz. So that's a great way that Moodle operates. So again, all of this is available once you download the course. So there's a question bank for each stage or each mission. The other thing you might want to look at is the grading rubric for the lab reports. So this is a sample one that I just had open in a different tab. So the rubric is set up so again you can just come in and you can click on the score that you want to give for that section. So in this case it's the title page. You can put in comments for that individual section. So the title had the incorrect date of the experiment. You can change just by clicking, which is great. You can put in comments for individual sections, or you can put in feedback for the overall lab report down here. And again, Moodle has a basic WYSIWYG editor for this, so you could import a image. I think you can even record audio if you wanted to give audio feedback. So you can put that in here, and that goes straight back to the student as well. So when they're looking at their grade book, they can look at the feedback that you've given to them. So the next time they're doing a lab report, they can take that information and improve their next submission. So that's the Billin side of things. So the quiz bank. So I'm monitoring all the list of users are available. I don't think there's anything else I wanted to, I guess, demonstrate for you at this point. So yes, I'm putting my whole 2 sections of this course, so the agents and the villains, are in the zip file. So you can download each individual, or download the zip file and extract it and import both courses into your own Moodle site. So you'll have to have a Moodle setup that you can import it into. And from there you can go through and modify it, put in your own information, your own structure, but basically this is giving you a starting point for creating your own game. So you can modify the grade book however you want it, put in your own video instructions, or you can just use this as a resource for using Moodle or whatever you want to do. Anyway, I hope you found this helpful, and if you have any questions, you can just post them on the site and let me know. Thanks.